This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview.
Joining us today is Malcolm Pye, the Executive Chairman, and Eddy Travier, the CEO of Coinsilium Group. Thank you very much, both of you, for your time. How are you doing?
Very good, Mark. Thank you for having us.
And Eddy?
Great. Thank you, Mark.
With Coinsilium, of course, the Web3 investor, advisor and venture builder involved in Web3 projects, which is, of course, the next evolution of the internet using decentralized technologies such as blockchain. You offer investment and advisory services. Just on that side of the business, the investment and advisory side, I wonder if you could perhaps, for shareholders who aren't necessarily blockchain or Web3 experts, just perhaps explain the company's business model in a sort of a clear way.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Mark. We have our businesses sort of split into two parts. There's the investment and there's advisory. We also are involved in sort of venture building where we can add value to a project, and we consider that sort of like a VC would consider a project. So we've got a couple of those as well. But clear distinction between the investments, which are where we put our own money in and we take stakes, usually in the form of a SAFT, a simple agreement for future tokens. They're usually token-based investments, although we do have some equity investments. And that sort of runs in our portfolio. If the value appreciates, and it shows on our as an increase in value in our portfolio. But the advisory services business is where we sort of done pretty well in the past, which is where we provide project startups, usually in the Web3 space, with, from our side, strategic advice and to do with their go-to-market propositions and their tokenomics and various other elements that sort of help them. But Eddy will talk about it a little bit later. We've tied up and we announced in July a new agreement where we have a partner called Lightflow, and we cover the technical aspect with Lightflow as well. So it's a kind of 360-degree service. So just to be clear, the token, advisory model is quite a very well-trodden path in this space. So everyone lines up on the advisory side with a new project, provided they meet our criteria. And we help them with their token launch, which is the sort of the point where we crystallize our value. So a little bit like an estate agent would only get paid when they sell the house. So, they don't get paid up front, although we do have some formula for sign-on fees. But the big bulk of the return comes when a company does their token sale, and then we get our advisory fees and success fees on that basis. So that's the principle of the model.
Okay, yeah. So in terms of sort of revenue and making money, it's not like you do a service and you make an invoice for it.
We're not consultants. We're not consultants. Yeah. It's a bigger game than that, because when these projects do token sales and they do their token launch, there's significant funds are raised, and we take usually a fixed fee out of those funds. And when you're doing consultancy work, you're charging per hour, and this is kind of more kind of the venture side of things. So we don't really, hold their hands right the way through the process in any other aspect than to see them to their token sale. Once they've done that, usually they're on their way.
So it's more speculative, but in theory more potential. Yeah. Okay, potentially more gains in the future with a simple agreement for future tokens, wasn't it? The SAFT agreement there. Just on the investment side, the strategy with the investments, Malcolm, in terms of when you put money in, when you look to crystallize some of that out.
It can be a similar kind of model with a SAFT. We have some investments where we've invested in that format. So they get the funds and the tokens are issued in the future, usually at the point of the token sale at a predetermined, usually at a predetermined price.
Okay, right. Okay, that makes sense. And from reading your interims, you hold over 1 million, I think, in cryptocurrencies and sort of tokens and future tokens, etc.
Yeah.
Overall assets are about 2.5 million. So there's a fair bit of backing there. I mean, at some point, do you what do you do with it?
Well, it's like anything. We're waiting for value to be created,
Okay,
and that's
more value.
where. Yeah, I mean, also this is a very cyclical business. Don't forget. So we've had 2 years of attrition, or 3 years, and this year's recovery, and next year we're looking for the big uplift.
Right. Okay. Well, we'll come back and perhaps circle back on the cyclical nature and Bitcoin if you're sort of holding on to that 2.5 million for exponential gains as we move into the next cycle. But let's just catch up on a few of the project. Eddy, I know you're here as a Coin Dash. First of all, that's quite a good example of your investment there returning some value there. 346, I think, % return so far.
It's not really a return. It's more a new. It's an increase of the value of our stake, because what has happened is that CoinDash main product now is a SSV network, which is actually a decentralized open source Ethereum staking network, and Ethereum staking has been doing very, very well. They have actually more than 1 million ETH staked on SSV network. And because their token, the SSV token, has been doing very well, and actually CoinDash holds a significant amount of token in their books, in their balance sheet, that drove us to actually revalue our stake to reflect the increasing price of the SSV tokens and the increasing value of the overall holdings of SSV by CoinDash.
Okay. And then let's just picking a few of the highlights. We won't go through every element of the business because I know there's a lot of projects on. But Yellow Network, were you involved in closing a $10 million seed round and a public launch? You're expecting that to happen Q4?
Yes, we were actually involved back in May 2022. So we have been involved now in the very early stage of fundraising for Yellow Network. And it was a SAFT, so again, it's a future token. But now we're getting very close to the actual token launch. I mean, what they announced is a round through which Ripple CEO and co-founder Chris Larsen was participating, and other reputable investors. And now they announced that we're getting very close to the token launch, with they plan for Q4 actually, so before the end of this year.
Okay, and I mean, at this stage, do you know how many tokens you're getting, the value of them, or does that come later?
We have some information. We know how many tokens we're going to get, but we're still waiting for the token launch as well. Okay. And at the same time, in terms of the price, this is usually determined at the time, or very soon before the token launch.
Okay.
I mean, these things are subject to confidentiality agreement. We've said in our announcements as well, whenever we've spoken about Yellow, that as soon as we're in a position to reveal to the market how many tokens we have, we will do that. But at this stage, it's subject to confidentiality. So, but obviously, with the launch after 2 years, it's been a long wait, and we're very excited because it seems like it's coming together very well. And this announcement that we included in our results regarding the participation of the Ripple CEO, then that's kind of a real vote of confidence there. So we just sort of watch this space. It's coming quite close. So that's quite a significant moment for us, hopefully, when that occurs.
Okay, well, 2 years in the making, so I can sense the anticipation there, Malcolm. So another SAFT project here, I think, is Automato, the Web3 automation protocol. I think you got to earn 7.5% of revenues until the token listing event. So what does that mean exactly? You're earning revenues at the moment, and then you'll also get tokens?
We'll earn revenues when the actual product launches. Well, one of the product, because actually Automato is a Web3 automation protocol. But the first instance, they will launch one decentralized app called also automato.xyz. And as soon as this is launched on the full public launch, then it will start generating revenues. I mean, it's interesting that we talk about this right after Yellow, because you can see, I guess, the idea there is that, as you said, in Yellow, we have been waiting for 2 years for the token launch. So we realized that it would be a good idea to start getting something before the token launch, as the token launch date is always floating and can move. So we're going to get revenues as soon as they launch, which should happen soon, hopefully before the end of the year. And like this, we have some income until the token is released. And this is very interesting because web automation protocols have been doing very well in Web 2. And it seems that it should be doing very well. I mean, they get a lot of support, a lot of traction with a lot of chains. They talk to potential partners, especially DeFi platforms, because it's really geared for traders. I mean, it's not only geared for traders, but we see trading as one of the main use cases for automation.
Okay. And a recent announcement as well, this collaboration with Lightflow. Then, can you tell us a little bit more about what Lightflow does, and again, Coinsilium's involvement here with them?
Yeah, Lightflow, I've been doing tech work in the world of blockchain for now several years. They're one of the early actors. During the cycle 2021, 2020, around 2021, they have been doing a lot around NFTs. But now they're also working on staking. They're also working on different models for token projects. So when we advise, as Malcolm was explaining, we do certain type of strategic services. We do, for example, go-to-market and so forth, tokenomics. So with Lightflow now, we're getting a tech capability that was actually very important. That is actually very important to the projects. And with Lightflow, we have created this initiative where we shortlist a few projects, usually 5 to 6 every month, and they basically pitch, and we can help them either financially, or we can help them with advisory service, and also with tech advisory services. There are other investors, potential investors as well, invited to the pitch, and this is going to be the third one this week. And we get good results, and it's helping create a very healthy pipeline of advisory client prospects as well for Coinsilium.
Okay. Well, there's definitely a lot going on. We've only touched on a few there. I know there's lots of other projects going on in the background, and I can sort of see how you're sort of getting in early in these projects, and then the gestation period can be sort of quite a while. But I can see how you've changed your model there to sort of get early revenues before the token launch. Malcolm, before we talk about the sort of cycle, and of course Bitcoin at the moment, I just want to get a sense that, we said earlier that it's sort of highly speculative. I mean, do you apply any sort of risk mitigation, or is this a real high speculative play for investors?
That's quite an amusing, I won't answer it flippantly, but if you look at everything in this sector and look at how wild and crazy it is, and how it's sort of moved. We've always known, we've been absolutely convinced, and with a great deal of conviction, that this sector is going to change pretty much everything. Certainly not, in the financial services, but beyond that. So risk is not something, I think the only way you can sort of mitigate your risk is to not do stupid things. So, every time you invest in a startup, a new project, you have to be as convinced as you can be that it's the right one, and you're never going to get them all right. But if you get more right in this case, you don't necessarily have to get more right than wrong. You just have to get one or two good winners, and that pays for a lot of mistakes. It's not too dissimilar to the resource space, but clearly, this is for different reasons. It moves that way. So risk mitigation is just really about managing your cash, making sure that when you do deals, certainly on the advisory side, that you are getting the right commensurate fee for the work you're doing. There's no point in helping these projects raising significant amounts of money and you get a couple of bob and some scraps. you want to make sure that you're in with they appreciate your service. They appreciate that you could be the difference between them doing a successful launch or not. And with a lot of the stuff we produce now, it does support them greatly. And likewise with investments, you just got to make sure that, our money isn't cheap money. Our money is expensive money for them, so that they appreciate and value what we actually have to offer. So, probably in a nutshell, you have to say no a lot,
Yeah. Okay. And manage your cash, as you're saying. You have, I think, over 400,000 at the moment in
that was
cash.
at the end of the period. But we've got crypto and cash, and we're quite frugal, and we know how to cut our cloth accordingly. So
Okay. So let's just get some thoughts, some from both of you, perhaps, on where you think that the sort of the market is at the moment. Bitcoin's performance, of course, the U.S. Federal Reserve making that interest rate cut. Of course, we're seeing gold at all-time highs here. There's definitely something afoot. I don't know how it's going to end, but you guys have got your ear to the ground. What are you picking up in terms of sentiment in the space, and where perhaps we are in the cycle, given, of course, that the halving happened, a few months ago now?
Yeah. Eddy, you go first for a change.
Well, there is a consensus if you look at articles and crypto Twitter and so forth that we are entering a cycle of growth. I mean, it's usually they usually call it bull run, but let's be a bit more pragmatic. So that means that usually after this number of months after the halving, after the interest rate cuts, and this year we had the added kind of help with the ETFs, Bitcoin ETF, Ethereum ETF being approved in the US, and now even derivatives of those are being approved, etc. So there are many catalysts for a very good season starting. Although Bitcoin did better, like in March of this year, it's starting to look better again, going back towards the all-time high. And usually when there is added liquidity, which is happening now on the market, a good part of this liquidity can go into crypto. And for our industry, as we mentioned before, every time crypto prices are doing well, the whole sector is doing better. We get more advisory contracts, we get interesting valuation for our existing investments, and of course all the companies we're helping with token sales, usually the token sale process is happening more smoothly. So yeah, overall very optimistic about the few months ahead, into 2025 as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd reiterate pretty much everything Eddy's said. I think what we've actually got is a more people coming into the sector. The ETFs this year, I think you'll look back at that and say that was really the seminal moment. That was the point where this started to go mainstream, and it's more about kind of waiting for that to sort of really kick in and come to a head. We're seeing we saw a lot of volatility in the past few months, but what's happening clearly, we always talk about Bitcoin leading the way because its dominance in amongst other cryptos is clear. But what this effectively means is that when the price falls, you'll always get people buying, and it goes into stronger hands. So we've now sort of pulled back, and it's been chopping since earlier this year. But it's going up to higher levels, and of course, with the flows that are coming in, I wouldn't be surprised. In fact, I've got expectations that we'll be at a new all-time high well before the end of the year, and a strong possibility of touching six figures by the end of the year. And of course, that is the perfect storm for us, because that means that people who hold crypto, particularly those who look to invest that crypto in a similar way to what we do, their money is becoming more valuable on the market, so they get more bang for their buck. So, if we're going to sell some of our crypto and put it into an investment, it's better to sell some at 100,000 a Bitcoin than it is at 65 or 64,000. So we'll wait until it's the right time to actually find the right projects and utilize that as and when, or sit on it, whatever it is. But that's a great problem to have, and that is an industry-wide problem when crypto goes up to new levels. So this whole bottom line is, as I'm reiterating what Eddy said, this whole sector does well when Bitcoin does well.
Yeah, okay. It's interesting a bit of a sort of prediction there, Malcolm, as well on the Bitcoin price.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. And if it does, it'll be a good conversation to have with both of you at that point, and you revalue the portfolio and decide what to do with the money.
Exactly. I think we'll always, if it doesn't hit the levels that we expect, there'll always be a reason, and we'll always know what that reason is, and it will invariably be something we didn't think of. But we spend a lot of time thinking this through, and I think the consensus is that we're going from strength to strength. And of course, there's the political side. If Trump gets in, then everyone's got high expectations. But equally, we think that even if he doesn't, it's still not going to take crypto off the boil.
Okay. Well, thank you both very much for your time, Malcolm Palley and Eddy Travier from Coinsilium Group.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter, and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.